Welcome to Inside the Upside Down. Thank you all you Mad Hatters for hanging out after the Edge of the Rabbit Hole episode that we just had with Ken Boggle. It was a fantastic episode on tarot cards, all that. It was a little different for me because I don't have a lot of experience for tarot, so I was learning a lot. And so this one's probably going to be, I'll have a little bit more to say here, especially since I'm, kind of on my own here. But tarot is actually something I'm very interested in. For one, of course, I think the cards are cool, have a lot of great artwork and all that, but not just that. It's just, I always like the significant meaning behind things. And so tarot has a lot of that, obviously, with all the different cards. So, but that's a lesson for another day. We're here to talk about technology, ghosts and technology on this episode of Inside the Upside Down. Unfortunately, I do not have our chat shenanigator Shauna with me. Turns out she is not feeling well this evening, so that is not going to happen, unfortunately. So I'm on my own on this one, but hopefully she will have a lot of input down there in the chat because she and I share a lot of different opinions when it comes to technology. So kind of the way this came about, searching for a topic for this week, and Don Francisco said, hey, why don't you talk about the way spirits can interact with technology, kind of Ghost in the Machine. Ghost in the Machine is a philosophical philosophy. It's a term. It's a specific book and all that. So actually a little bit different, but like you could still say Ghost in the Machine, talking about these types of machines, these types of gadgets that we have nowadays to try to pick up on paranormal activity. So yes, Shauna down in the chat, opinions. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, see, that's why I would have loved for you to have been on this show, but that's fine. Since I'll be the one on the playback and the podcast and all that, I'll take all the heat for the opinions. Okay. Yeah, kind of the first time it really dawned on me that you could use technology to pick up on paranormal activity. I would say, all those books that I read by Hans Holzer when I was younger, but it didn't click for some reason. It actually clicked when I first saw The Sixth Sense, and Bruce Willis is going through and listening to the recordings, and ends up hearing some voices in the background, and then it was like that's when it clicked, like, oh hey, Holzer was doing that in those books. It was like boom, ta-da, kind of a revelation type of a moment. And so that was kind of like my real first introduction to what EVPs are. And we weren't really calling it that back then. Sorry for the loud traffic out there. What the heck? I don't even. We were just calling spirit voices back then. I can't even remember. But that was really my first introduction, is seeing that on Sixth Sense and just it clicking and being, oh, okay. So we're gonna get into a bit of that, and I guess for me, like my personal experiences of just kind of randomly spirits interacting with technology. For one, a voice recorder, even though I wasn't trying to, record at the time. It was kind of interesting. It was actually my first visit to the Stone Lion Inn. I wasn't actually investigating. I did have the audio recorder on me, but I was just there for the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, the bed and breakfast part of it. Nothing had really gone on that night, actually. It was kind of quiet. It was the morning that things were going on. One of the things that happened was, I had turned everything off, right? Put it away like I usually do, locked it up. And the next morning, kind of, getting everything ready to go and all that, and all of a sudden, I hear the beeping of the audio recorders. I don't know what's going on. So I go to check it, and it had been recording all night. It ran out of space. At some point in time in the night, it actually started recording again on its own. So, yeah, and sadly, no, there was no EVP or anything on there. It just like, boom, started on its own. So that was kind of the the weird little interaction there. Of course, people talk about, of course, TVs getting turned off and on. For me, there was a lighting incident where lights would just suddenly turn on the fan in the living room. I was being accused of having brought something home with me. I believe it was somebody else. I'll get to that question in a minute down there. And basically what happened was, after this happened several times, I was there one day with my son Cameron. It was just he and I at that time. And all of a sudden, light turns on. I'm like, all right, fine. I want to know if somebody's actually here. And if there is, you got to do a little bit better than that, because my whole thing was like, it just could be like a short, or, there was a remote to turn it on, so maybe there was something funny with the button. And all of a sudden, the thing just started blinking. So I did get out my audio recorder, and I did pick up an EVP there that told me, don't stay here anymore. So kind of an interesting moment. So you guys are all down there talking about Shauna's illnesses and her vertigo and everything. Yeah, send out some positive energy to Shauna. She has been battling stuff, off and on, mostly on, for like the past year. It's been pretty crazy. So definitely send some positive energy her way so that she can get this through her system and done finally. The vertical thing might be a little bit more, because they might have to do something inside her ear. So yeah, send some positive energy her way for all of that. Okay, this is from Tom. Is it worth to pay higher prices to buy equipment? That's one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about tonight, is do you need to go out and buy all of this fancy equipment as a paranormal investigator? Because you see a lot of people, a lot of the shows, they're busting out all of this boom, 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 wiring everything up, all this crazy stuff. There's a lot of teams that are out there that, when they kind of show all their stuff, like, you'll go to different conventions and whatnot, and, at their table, like, boom, 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 here's, like, all this equipment, the 20 different cameras and, all the, everything. And that's fine. I'm not going to disparage anybody for, using all this equipment to, try to capture paranormal activity. If I had the money to get more cameras, or maybe a little higher quality camera, I would. But, I don't have that kind of money right now. So, but you can get by, on a basic, camera. You can get by on a, audio recorder. And that's fine. I mean, flashlight and, maybe something to take pictures. Now, you don't even need to do that. If you don't want to actually capture something, you can just go into a location with a flashlight and go. Your best tool is your body. And that's really all you need, to, capture, something on audio or with a camera or what have you, is more for trying to prove and show, hey, I experienced something. The audio recorder, you could try to use it as a communicative device as well, or something like, a EMF detector. You can get intelligent responses using like a K2 and things like that. So there's ways you can try to use these things intelligently as a communicative device. But you don't necessarily have to have that stuff to go do it. You don't have to spend a crap ton of money to go investigating, because you just really need yourself, and like I say, a flashlight, because you want to be safe about it. Bring some water along, and maybe an extra set of clothes if you need it. It doesn't have to be all of this, fantastic, expensive equipment. I bring cameras with me, of course. Well, actually, I can't show you that camera because it's sitting up there. I'm using it right now. But, here's, another one that we use. I've picked up these cameras because we do video work. We're trying to, show and display the stories and our experiences to you guys. So that's where, they come in handy. For, like this one here, I picked up specifically for night vision. And so, here's the the IR light. It actually has a little IR light in it as well, but there's an additional IR light that gets more range. And honestly, I picked that up specifically, because we're in the dark a lot, and so there's only so much you can do with a flashlight and a regular camera. So the IR gets you a different type of view, and so that's really why I picked it up, is so that we could film our investigations in dark areas. As far as picking up paranormal activity with it, a lot of people have been going the way of actually getting away from IR. Maybe just going with the traditional camera. Some people are still trying full spectrum and seeing how that works. There's actually little people have kind of figured out they spend all this time rigging up all these camera systems, all this IR stuff, and going through all this footage and getting very, very, very little evidence on it. I mean, you can. It's just not as prevalent as we thought for all of those years. I've a few light anomalies here and there. As far as like shadows, they seem to see fewer shadows with these because the way the IR lights up the room. So very different. I know there are a couple questions that flew through here, so let me oh, okay, so there's a story going on here I guess I'm missing. I saw the bold text. So what am I missing here, guys? Okay, so I'm not actually seeing a question. Yeah. So use the bold text for the questions, because I'm here on my own here, guys. So I'm scrolling back through. Okay. So yeah, I'm using. Oh yeah, Ghosty's over there. Yeah, it's just me. So use the bold, to throw out questions, or you can use the super chat, either one, so I can actually see it, because that's my eye is going to look down there. Bold. Okay, let me look for it. So I guess there wasn't a question. All right. So what was I going on about? I'm kind of running my mouth here. Okay, now there's a question. Jen K, thank you. I was wondering if you or Shauna knows how I can stop the chest pains when I do investigations. Interesting. So it's only when you go out on investigations that you're getting the chest pains. I mean, that may be, it could be anxiety. So, maybe take something for, I don't know if you take anything for anxiety going on investigations. Shauna might have some recommendations on stones, or it may be something you just don't do as much of if investigations do that to you. I don't want to try to recommend anything medical, because I'm not in the medical field, but I would, that would be a concern if every time you go on investigations that's happening to you. So what's the best tech evidence you've ever recorded? That's from Discord threads. What's the best? That's a tough question. That's basically asking for my best piece of evidence. Because that's how we collect evidence, is through the technology. There's all kinds of personal experiences that we have. It would be like a couple of different photographs that that picked up on at the Stone. One was at the Stone Lion Inn. That was with other personal experiences at the same time. So it was a fantastic white wisp that was caught while other things were going on, like a drawer slamming and a picture crashing to the floor. A massive wave of energy hit me that almost made me pass out. So that that kind of stuff was going on at the time. There's the giant ball of light illuminated ball of light at Black Bear Church. There would be the Campbellsville grade school. If you watch that evidence video, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff. There's the shadow person that we caught. There was what looks like the apparition of a woman in like very vintage garb at the bottom of a set of stairs. When we went to go back to try to debunk that, a pebble was thrown across the floor. So there's a lot of interesting stuff like that was going on. Okay, HRM, do you seem to get less activity now that electronics are more likely to be shielded per X Group Home Kit? You mean shielded for like the shielding they put in for RFID and things like that? No. No. I mean, shoot, I was in the military for a while. We dealt with Tempest equipment, which, if you don't know, was like these. You put a computer inside this massive steel box and drill like 5 million screws into it. It was ridiculously shielded. No, I don't think so. Because paranormal activity is going to happen. I guess this is the way I view it. Like I said before, our bodies are our best tools, and so paranormal activity is going to be experienced whether you're using electronic equipment or not. So, they can use the energy from a device, like battery drain and stuff like that. They could use an outlet. You could turn on a light bulb, and they could pull from that. Perhaps. So there's other ways. So have you ever lost equipment during an investigation, or has any malfunction during one? Oh yeah, we've gotten equipment malfunctions where cameras wouldn't work. I've had audio recorder just suddenly start acting bonkers. Battery drain will happen at some locations a lot, like Mineral Springs. Battery drain like crazy, especially Shauna's equipment. That'll go like crazy. It's really interesting. So, and see, now Mineral Springs is a location where not even using your body, except for maybe your ears, and not using equipment, you can use other things to try to experience paranormal activity. Get some, I wouldn't even call them EVPs, it'd be disembodied voices. And that would be, like the fountains and the running water, where between the lup, 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 you can hear the voices talking. And, that's just using, you could call it technology because it's kind of old school technology. Plumbing, right? So it's a different way of going about it. Kathy Ciliento, Mike, what is your opinion on using Ouija boards as tools? Now, this is an interesting question. They're tools. They're tools. I think the problem with Ouija boards is that they are marketed as toys. They're marketed as a game, and then kids pick up the game and they start doing things with it, and they have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to use it, and so they accidentally end up making things happen that they didn't intend. And so that just comes in, being ignorant about what it really is. They're selling a Stranger Things one now, which is really cool looking, but you're going to end up, again, with a lot of kids who love Stranger Things with a Ouija board that they have no idea what they're going to do with. My thought on it is this. And I know a lot of people who do use them as tools and don't have any problems. Of course, I also know people who have used Ouija boards and have had problems. So it's kind of a mixed bag. We're doing the same thing with this. We're trying to talk to spirits. With a Ouija board, we have letters on a board and a planchette. And you're trying to reach out and communicate with spirits and have them answer through the board. With this, I'm trying to have them reach out and answer me through this. It's the same idea. But with this, like even a kid nowadays understands that, well, we're trying to reach out to spirits through here. Like, seriously, it's not a game. It's investigating, da-da-da. They've seen it like a bunch on TV. Opinions on TV aside for a moment. But with the Ouija board, because it's a little different, it's a board, you got a planchette, things are supposed to move on their own, da-da-da. they don't take it as seriously. And so, and that's what happens. So I think they can be used as a tool just fine if people know how to use it as a tool, the proper way. So, all right. Did I miss any other questions? So Andrew Cubbage is looking for, fake ghost apps. Yeah, there's all kinds of different fake ghost apps that you can get for your phone. That's something to be a little wary of. We've had a number of times. I used to keep it on my phone, and I don't have it on there now because I got used to what it looks like on your phone, or when you kind of superimpose a quote unquote ghost onto a pic of yours. And we've caught people in the past sending us these fake pics and what have you. There was one really sad moment where we'd been investigating a house a couple of times. There had been paranormal activity going on there, like legit, and so it was an interesting location. And they decided that they wanted the activity to be a little bit more. I don't know. So it was our second time there. We'd been investigating for a little while, and I can't remember if it was a guy or a lady, but one of them showed us their phone. Here's this pic that we caught. What do you think? And it was one of the ladies from the ghost app superimposed onto the one wall, and it's like, we're done. We're done. You just tried to pass along fake evidence to us. It's sad because you have something legitimately going on here, but you're trying to lie to us about the activity. We're done. So I think we talked about this the other week, actually, and we ended up thinking was we'd just done The Haunted, and so we were thinking that maybe they were looking to get on a television show too, and so we're trying to kind of amp up what they had going on. They didn't have to. Okay, got a good question. When a ghost drains a light bulb, does it happen in one room or in all rooms? Oh, it can happen individually. It can happen in all rooms. That's one of the strange things about the paranormal is it's very random. Just like when you go on an investigation to a known haunted location, you may not get activity. You may get a ton of activity. You may get a thing here, go hours, and then get a thing there. So as far as like them interacting with light bulbs, yeah, it could be a light bulb here, a light bulb there. It could be a whole room. It's kind of like with the with the light that I was talking about earlier. It was like every once in a while, pop on. Sometimes it would pop off. Usually it would pop on. And so the one day I'm just like, okay, forget it. It's probably just a short thing, or a short in the thing. But then also start blinking, and it's like, okay, well that's different. So it's different. So I kind of wanted to go over a little bit about kind of the arsenal, because we don't. I had a comment out on one of our YouTube videos here earlier today that the person was, I forget which investigation it was. Oh, it was the Milton School investigation. And the comment was that they appreciated that we didn't use a lot of tech, that we didn't use a lot of equipment, that we kept it, pretty old school. And we tend to be like that. We do keep it pretty old school. And like I said, I really don't have anything against people using a bunch of stuff. I mean, try it out. See if it works, see if you're able to get anything with it. I mean, honestly, one of the things I would, really like is an SLS camera, based on like the whole, I get the concept of it, and it makes sense to me as far as like, one of the newer things out there to invest in and get a hold of. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy different things out there that, trying to, measure paranormal activity based on the weather inside of the, inside of the house, or the different gases that are inside the house that you could use something to generate. I don't know. There's all kind of weird stuff that people are trying. It's fine. Try. See if it works. Some of it I just can't. How is a spirit going to understand to manipulate that? kind of like even with like something like a K2, you know, sometimes you really have to explain, especially, you know, to an older spirit that, you know, maybe they weren't around when you had electricity in the home, you know, or, you know, batteries to put in something like this. You kind of have to really explain what this is and what it does, because they may not have ever had any sort of contextual idea of what a device like this is supposed to do. But people, a lot of times in investigations, people just kind of assume, okay, well, you know, can you light up the K2 meter? You know, you got to kind of explain it. But like an SLS camera, you know, I kind of get the whole idea behind that. Basically, it's sensing motion. You know, my kids had a Connect system that basically, you know, it looks for the motion of the body and basically maps that into the computer and, you know, kind of feeds it back into the game system, of course. In, you know, this camera and the Connect systems that people have kind of, you know, hacked, you basically circumvent that. Instead of going, you know, into the game system, you basically come out on a screen, and so you're able to see the movement that it's detecting. It's designed to detect movement. And so to me, that one makes sense. Okay, so if there's anything out there that we're not seeing and it's picking up some movement out there, okay, well, you know, that could certainly be something. So that one makes sense to me as far as like some of the newer, fancier type of things. Have you ever had a sudden, Phoenix Feather, have you ever had a sudden emotional change during an investigation? Yeah, I have. You know, one particular investigation, well, a couple. And it's a little, I don't know, it's a little more on the rare side for me. So I don't ever really talk about it, but I am a bit of an empath. I don't ever talk about it and admit that I got a little bit of something going on, because I don't ever want to try to make myself out to be something I'm not. You know, there's too many fakes out there, and I don't want to, you know, people start accusing me of being, you know, a fake or what have you. So it's like, whenever something happens, sure, I'll let you know, but I'm never going to really call myself anything. But in any case, yeah, Ferry Plantation. You know, I started really feeling that, you know, in that, they call it the best parlor, and basically they have it set up as a wake. And I started really feeling a woman's emotions that she didn't like that. I did get some EVPs during that time, but she was, you know, very distraught over the way this room was set up, because she didn't like how morbid it's made the place to seem, because you know, wakes, funerals, people dying didn't happen all the time. I mean, they happened, you know, a little bit more often than they did it in the home like that back then, but it wasn't all the time. And so she wanted it more to be like, you know, a happy place rather than one with the sadness. So I was feeling her sadness and her being distraught over that. There's another one with private residence, and we were in the back bedroom, and my back was to the closet. And as we're kind of going through the EVP session, you know, I started feeling again. It was a woman that was behind me. She was hurt. She was injured. She was frightened. And basically, what I was getting was that she was abused. She was beaten. She was kept in this closet, and so I was feeling, you know, her pain and her fear. So that doesn't really have much to do with tech, but it answered the question for you. So every once in a while, you know, something like that will happen. And so Shauna was saying something in there about videos. What was that? Mike and I have vids. I saw it, and then it scrolled away. So, oh, Shauna's talking about crystals. Okay. Yeah, Phoenix. Mike and I have videos on this channel where that has happened, especially with me. I get emotionally overwhelmed sometimes without wording. Yes, that'll happen to Shauna. Yeah, quite a bit. Like, there was one with her on the Goldenrod Showboat. So, which one was that? It was Goldenrod Return, I think, #1. It would have happened last year. I posted the video this spring. It was Goldenrod Return 1. And so we were up in the, it was the upstairs, second floor, dining room area. There's a dance floor there. And I was playing some music, trying to dance with Annie. Annie had previously blown in my ear, like long before that, and so I was trying to interact with her again. This is when we were barred from the goldenrod for a while, and we were able to come back, and we did some investigations. And so I'm trying to dance with her, trying to get that sort of interaction going. And as this is going on, this is where the infrared actually picked up on something, the night vision camera, where there was this small it looked like a translucent ball of light, kind of floated through the screen. It could have been dust, but there was no other dust kind of flying around at that time that this was picking up. This was the only one it picked up. And it went in the direction of Shauna, who was off camera. Well, so I'm dancing a little bit more, and then Shauna, all of a sudden, you see her go through the screen, and then off to one of the windows, just kind of away from everything, and she's just completely distraught and kind of breaking down and crying. I'm like, what's going on? And she just didn't know. Just suddenly she felt like this deep sadness. And so that's a great example of one. So yeah, go check that out. So what else you guys got? I didn't even get into everything yet. You guys asked some great questions. Really do appreciate that. So all right. So you pretty much have to tell them to use the meter thing. Yeah, Jen. Basically, when Shauna and I are investigating, and we're using something like the K2, or or even I'll bust out a few things here, the things on display, or the Mel meter, something like that. Even using an audio recorder, we will describe exactly how to interact with it, because you don't know who you may be talking to. If you're talking to somebody from 100 years ago, they are going to have no freaking idea as to what it is you're talking about. Talking to the red light, with an audio recorder, that's no comprehension. What do you mean talking to the red light? It just doesn't make sense. So, you kind of explain to them, okay, I have this little black box. This is what this does. We may be able to pick up your voice, we may be able to hear you through it later on, or if you're doing a burst EVP session, right there. So you kind of explain the steps, with the K2 meter. You kind of explain, okay, this thing, lights up, it's got these different colors on it, da-da-da-da-da. If you get closer to it, it may be able to do these different things. So you kind of explain the function, because they may have like no reference in their point in time in history as to what this thing does. So, yeah, and even then, it's really all theories for us, They could be standing on top of this thing for all we know, and it's not going off. Great video on the historic house in Jacksonville, Illinois, where we are feeling all kinds of crazy stuff. This is another location where Shauna was just like massive buzz to the head. And you would think with, I'm feeling tingly, she's got a massive buzzing going on in her head. You're thinking, okay, high EMF field. Over by the one wall, it was crazy. There's nothing. There's no wiring, not in the wall, not in the ceiling there, not in the floor, nothing. Because we were able to look, down the eaves, through the wall. There's nothing there. There's no outlet. There's no outlet in the ceiling. Down below the other floor, I think maybe there's a ceiling fan that's poorly wired. Look, no ceiling fan, nothing there. But all kinds of crazy buzzing, like there was this huge electromagnetic field. So fine, we'll get out these devices, right? Zero. No electromagnetic field whatsoever, but yet we're getting all of that feeling like there is. So even when there's something there that's going on, it still may not even be able to pick it up. That's why this field is so crazy. And trying to prove scientifically is very, very difficult to try to prove anything scientifically in this field at all, because you can't consistently make the same thing happen on, on demand. There's no control, and you have to have a control set up to be able to run consistent tests, and that just doesn't happen here. It just doesn't. So, what's the favorite thing that I recorded? That's from Rin Oak. Yeah, it's really difficult. I was kind of talking about it a bit before. a couple of those different photos, Stone Lion Inn, Black Bear Church, the Campsville grade school. There's a ton of evidence there that we picked up on. That's a great video if you want just like evidence just from the footsteps, the shadow person, the possible apparition, the pebble that's thrown, some of the different EVPs that we picked up there. A lot of stuff. Yeah, the stuff at that Jacksonville house with Diesel the dog. You know, he was having, you know, just, you know, physical reactions to something that was there. And, you know, you hear, you know, it's faint actually on the recording of that, but you hear the click, click, click of something approaching us, and there wasn't anything there, and he's visibly reacting to everything. So, you know, really interesting stuff in those. So, what else? I always like the questions. For me, it's easier doing Q&A than just like running through a whole stuff. Candy or Mike, I'll just call you Tingles now, or Tingly. Yeah, that is, I do say that in the different videos, because that's kind of the way I experience that energy. I will start feeling tingly, like especially in my arms, or I'll get like cobwebby in the face. In the one that we just posted, the Goldenrod Showboat, that back room that we would go into, and I don't know if you want to call that a corridor or a room. I'm not exactly sure what they used it for. It was for the, I guess later on, it was for the dining room. And I remember when I first walked in there were some different plates, so maybe they used it as like a serving station, like they'd bring things out from there. I guess, I don't know, Shano might know. But it used to be Charlie Minky's room, which we found out like the very last investigation that we ever did there. So we were hoping we'd get to go back and, you know, follow up some more on it, which we never were. But every time going through there was always something, cobwebby in the face, the tingles on the arms. Yeah, that place had some stuff going on. Yeah, tingly. That's funny. What else you guys got? So some of the newer technology. Oh, Joey Rubino, Mike, is it true that music will bring on the spirits? Well, possibly. I was trying to use it, and that what I was describing there, so I guess I kind of inspired the question. I was trying to use it to create a situation where she might dance with me. I would think that different music from the different eras that some of the spirits may be associated with would help draw them out, because we as humans usually relate really well to music. You know, a certain piece of music, certain song can just like zap you right back into an era, a point in time. That's something that happens to me quite often, is that, you know, I'll hear a song that I haven't heard in ages, and all of a sudden it's like right back into like wherever I was in, I don't know, in high school. You know, it's really kind of interesting. It's one, what is that? Claire audio? It's one of the clairs. Those of you that know the clairs, throw it in there. It's one of those clairs. I think it's Claire audio. So one of the things that we've done, you know, a little recently, because I'll throw up some more tech here, and we have a couple of videos posted, is the 360 camera. So I know I was on record earlier saying we don't, you know, do a lot with you know, throwing money at advanced technology, but this was one that we thought that would be interesting for a tool. And so that is this guy. Oh, I almost dropped it. I'm almost dropping everything here. So Jared Osborne calls this HAL, if I could line it up properly. There we go. So this kind of looks like HAL, right, from Space Odyssey, 2001. It's a 360 camera is what it is. And so this, you know, all around vision, full field, except it's 240 over the top, so you can't get directly underneath, but who wants to, you know, check out your feet, right? So this has come in handy in some different cases where, you know, we've heard something in another room. Sean and I are talking in a hallway. You know, normally, you know, I'd be like holding the camera up here, right? We're kind of looking around. But this one, just kind of holding it out, you know, here's something in the room next door. What's that? Well, this was able to pick up on whatever it was. Something with a box. One of the more interesting ones was during that same investigation, Shauna was sitting down on a couch in the room. I'd gone out into the hallway. I was getting a light bulb. We wanted to light up the room a little bit, because one thing is in dim lighting, this doesn't work so well, so I wanted to light up the room a little bit. So I had the 360 camera sitting on the table, and I have a little tripod for it. It was a coffee table. And I start walking down the hall, and maybe halfway down the hall, and all of a sudden, it's just like, to me, it seemed like the lights went out real quick. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? Because we had one light on, in a lamp that we couldn't take a bulb out of. And she didn't catch it because she thought something else was going on in the room that she was in. Going back through this later, because it's 360 all the way around, it actually did pick up on that light just kind of quickly going out and then back in. So, don't know if it was paranormal, but kind of interesting the way this is able to pick up on a full field of vision. So, one of those cases where you hear something, it's like you're looking this way, right? And you hear something off over there, like, oh, what was that? Well, you've lost it. You don't know what it was. You might have an idea based on, okay, what's over there, but you didn't catch it when it happened. And something like this can catch that. So we picked that up as a tool for investigations. So what else you guys have down here for questions? Ground rules. What did I miss here? Mike, how do you feel about the Periscope? Do you mean the Periscope feed? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, no, the Periscope. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. If you're talking about the one that picks up on different temperature fluctuations, it's almost like a different visualization of what the temperature gauge on here will do. Instead of seeing a number, you'll see lights. Or it's a little better than holding a gun, the little temperature gauge gun. So yeah, that's fine. I've used them before in investigations. I don't really get a lot of interaction with them, so to me it's, like I said, it's fine, because I have seen them work, but most times they just kind of sit there and don't do a lot, and eventually the battery dies, so I'm okay with it. So what else did we lose, or did I lose up here? So, oh, that's back at the tingle stuff. Okay. So, yeah, and whatever that was, I'm sorry, whatever the conversation was up above that was all in caps before that I missed early on, I do apologize for that. I saw the comment in there, it was a while ago now, saying it was relevant to the conversation, but it was kind of broken up into pieces, and I just kind of really missed it all, so I do apologize for that. Okay, Sean Gilmore, do I like to use trigger objects? Yeah. We'll definitely set up trigger objects. Like on the boat, going around showboat, for Captain Minky, it was a cigar. Something that I like to use for trigger objects, it's not really an object, but it's information, and that's the history of the location. I know a lot of people like to go into investigations not really knowing a lot about the history and who's there and what's supposed to be going on and all that. And for psychic mediums, I understand that. But for your investigator, I prefer knowing all that, because to me, if you were able to talk about different things that happened there or different people that were there, that'll trigger whoever may be there to respond to it. So, a perfect example, and I've talked about it before in here, is the World War II plane at the old Army airfield in Frederick, Oklahoma. Nothing. We're sitting. This plane was used, actually during battle in World War II. Nothing going on. Kind of gonna, wrap it up. And all of a sudden, I start talking about how I'd once been in the Air Force and how I knew it came out of the old Army Air Corps, etc., etc. And then boom, started getting that activity. And so it was just relating a bit of information, because I knew a bit about history of Air Force, World War II, Army Air Corps, that sort of thing. Started working. So yeah, I like to use information as trigger objects. But if it's a ball, for child spirit, this is usually what you throw out there: balls, dolls, things like that. You know, we see that all over the place. The pool in Mineral Springs is like littered with all kinds of toys because, you know, there's supposed to be a little girl down there. I've seen that at, you know, a great one was Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. This was kind of cool. So they had this one room, I forget which ward it was, but they had left a bunch of trigger objects there, you know, along the one wall for use later because they get a lot of activity in there. So Copperhead and I go into the one room that all these things are at. Well, we don't touch them. We just kind of walk by them. We start setting up in the middle of the room. There's a group that Copperhead was kind of leading through. They went off down the hall. But we went into this one room. We're just setting stuff up in the middle of the floor, our own things. But then all of a sudden, this one ball that was in there that was supposed to be a trigger object, it's a little light up ball that when you bounce it, it lights up different colors. It starts taking off, you know, down the wall, right, out the door, so it has to turn on its own, and then turn again off down the hall, bounding all the way, doom, 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 you know, lighting up. And they start screaming from down the hall, "Hey, you throwing this ball at us?" It's like, no, it just basically got up and went off on its own. So it was kind of a that was kind of a cool moment. He tried. He's no longer working there, but he tried again and again to try to get that to happen again. Never happened again. He said the spirit's name up there was Frank. So, what else do we have? Did I miss something up here? And I'll get the one from down there. Hey, Mike, what are your thoughts on provoking spirits to get responses? I think a lot of people need to be schooled in this area. I don't provoke. I don't provoke. These are people, right? I don't go into somebody's house right now and, you know, barge in and start demanding that they do things, you know. You know, I mean, imagine going to your neighbor's house right now, walking in the door, and say, "Hey, turn off that light. Hey, go knock on that wall. Hey, hit me." Would you do that? Would you walk in your neighbor's house and do that? I don't think so. So no, they're people. So you treat them as such. You know, go into a location and introduce ourselves. You know, there'll be times I hold out my hand, you know, to offer a handshake. And, you know, especially a new location where they don't know you, you know, why would they interact with you? So it does take, I believe, a number of times going back to the location again and again, you know, before they start warming up to you. Sometimes, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, there's somebody new here to talk to or interact with," and, you know, they'll do stuff. But provoking, no. No, we are, Shauna and I are very respectful. That's something that we absolutely agree on. Don't provoke. So there was one down here a little bit. Oops, I just went by it. From Phoenix Feather 1031, do you think some spirits don't know they're dead? Maybe that's why they act the same way from back then. Yeah. And that's that's a big reason why we don't say things like, or we don't ask them about their death. We might ask, you know, what happened in here, something like that. We don't ask, you know, how did you die? No, we don't go there. That's disrespectful. We don't ask them if they know they're dead. I was in the investigation a year and a half ago at a cemetery where, you know, these bodies had been desecrated twice, you know, twice over, because, you know, just the way that they were buried to begin with, they were just kind of tossed off to the side and left to rot in basically like a mass grave, or, you know, the graves weren't marked nothing, they were just tossed off to the side. They were miners. Highway came through and came across the bodies. Well, they have to put their highway through, so they toss the bodies off to the side again. Oh my God. So finally, a group came along and just like, "Hey, you know, this is wrong. Let's set up a nice cemetery for them." So we're in this cemetery with these bodies that have been desecrated like this twice, and going through. We're doing a spirit box session. We could talk about spirit boxes here in a minute. And one of the questions with the guys that I was with was, well, you know you're dead, right? Last investigation I ever did with them. Nope. Have any experience with streetlight interference phenomena? That's from Ether Shadow. Good question. Not really that I can recall, honestly. I don't really recall. So sometimes you don't have a story, you know. So there you go. Beat 3 Airspace. Mike is awesome. Thank you, Beat 3 Airspace. Appreciate that. Actually, Sean Gilmore has box questions. Okay, Sean, ask away. Ask away with the box questions. I mean, I can just start. A couple of things about the ghost. I mean, I've had them work. Okay. Occasionally, I'm really mixed. For one, they give me a headache, so I don't like using them anyway because it's just like enough. You know, it's a bunch of noise. But then, you know, a lot of what I think is picked up is radio bleed over. I mean, it was like during that investigation that I was just talking about with, you know, do you think you're dead, right? Or you know you're dead, right? That same investigation, we pull out an SB7, and there's no antenna on it. So, you know, we're going live from this place. And so one of the things that's kind of bragged about is, hey, there's no antenna on here. We're kind of out there a little bit, even though we have enough signal to go live, which is cool. You know, this is not going to pick up any radio. So we should get pure, you know, if there's a voice that comes through, it should be purely, you know, a voice of one of the spirits. Okay, great. That lasted all of about 2 minutes. And with nothing, you know, coming through, I don't know if it was pressure of performance because we're live. I don't know. That was put down, and the old Hack Shack ghost box was brought out. Antenna goes up, you know, starts cycling through, and you know, now all of a sudden we're getting a bunch of responses, and I'm kind of listening, and it's like, to me, most of it was radio bleed over. Now there were some things that came through at a point in time where I was like, okay, that might be something there, because you know, there's some different, you know, somebody's dropping the F-bomb, or you know, horror was thrown out there and things like that. It was like, okay, you know, there may be a radio station out there that is saying that, but usually not. So it's like, okay, there may be a little something there going on, but for the most part, I don't know. Here's another thing that I have a problem with that. I mean, I do think the spirits can use white noise to be able to interact and communicate with. I do believe that. With the idea that, okay, this thing is supposed to be going, you know, a 1/13 of a second cycling through, ding, 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 and then you're getting the audio from that. There somehow the spirit is supposed to know to take this piece, in this piece, in this piece, in this piece, in this rapid fire succession, and piece it all together to make a word. I don't know how the spirit would know to do that. I don't. You know, and a lot of times we pull out these devices and we crank it right up. Right? Oh, we got a ghost box up. Let's, you know, start asking questions. How does the spirit know that? Is it just because they're holding he's holding the ghost box, so I've got to, you know, take the pieces and put them together. We usually don't explain it. Hey, this is what's going on here. You need to do it. You know, I don't know. It's kind of even like with the ones with the Ovilus, with the word library. Well, it has a library, and they interact. You know, they use their energy to manipulate the, you know, the words in there to pull out what they want. Again, I've seen responses off of it that have worked. You know, I've been on an investigation before where, you know, we used all kinds of different stuff. You know, we used the Hack Shack, we used the Ovilus, we used the Portal, we used the SB7, we used some different apps, and we were getting a lot of the same responses between all the different devices. So it was like, okay, that's interesting. But then there are other times where it's just kind of all over the place. So but I just don't get how you're expecting a spirit to know how to manipulate this. Imagine, do you know how to do that? Because it would have to be like you. Think about, you pass away, you're a ghost, you're a spirit. How do you know to do that? And this may be an unpopular opinion, which is kind of why I wish Shauna was, with me for this and back me up. I know she's going to back me up in the chat. But I don't know how we expect these spirits to know how to do this. I mean, I was just talking before, explaining to a spirit that's 100 years old how, there's some lights on here. If you get close, it may light up. And that's a little bit more simplistic. But how do you take, like, a computer program? Well, I had an investigation where, I was hosting a public event. Kid has a computer. I say kid because I know he's 20 years younger than me. And even though he's probably in his early 20s, right? But he's got a laptop and he's got an app going. And he's basically talking into his laptop. How in the world does the spirit know to get into the computer and, and somehow, I don't know, maybe the app designer is saying, well, the app is sensing the energy and coming out with these different words, or sometimes it's like, well, the spirit can like manipulate the words. As somebody who's been a developer, who's been in the IT industry for 25 years, that's not the way it works. It's just not the way it works, So, like I said, I mean, it may be an unpopular opinion, but I just, given my experience in the development arena in the IT industry, I don't see how that works like that. So what are you guys saying? Sherry and Carol saying, I agree, I don't use any of the boxes. So what else we got? Yeah, Lenora saying, I believe when you go to a haunted place, if they want to talk with you, they will. You do not need gadgets. Okay. I'm just trying to see. I'm looking for somebody who's disagreeing with me, is basically what I'm doing. I want to see what it is. Phoenix Feather. Okay, take care. You're heading out. Discord threads hurts your head too. Okay. What ether keys? I'm seriously looking for somebody who's disagreeing with me. Geo boxes sound creepy. Sean, yeah, and I think that's by design. I think that's by design. Because if it sounds creepy, it sounds like we're interacting with the dead, right? It's all by design. That one app that kid was using, here's something to throw out at you. It was one of those that it has that, creepy sound, almost like a geobox. In fact, somebody in the comments on that video asked, was the geobox being used? Because it sounded like that. But there was one moment where he asked a question, and it was his voice asking the exact same question coming back out of the computer. And I'm like, did I just hear that? Like, seriously, did I just hear this app take what he said and throw it back out? Made me wonder about that, because this is how a program could possibly work. So you got the program running, right? And this could be its design, randomly spewing some things out, bloop, 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 here or there. Usually, the way it works is you say something into it, and a response ends up coming back out, right? So, imagine this. Microphone's activated, you're speaking something, the program picks it up, goes in, modulates the voice, and it can, manipulate the sound waves and all that stuff. A program can be programmed to do that. Manipulate the sound waves, put a little delay here, a little echo there, just randomize it. You set up all kinds of different random number generators. I have a degree in game and simulation programming. So I've learned all about how to be able to, simulate and randomize and all that shit. And then spit it right back out through the speaker. So basically taking your own voice, doing a bunch of shit to it, and throwing it back out. And you're listening like, oh, you know, that was cool. Oh, I thought I heard this word. Thought I heard that word. And it's like in this deep, you know, menacing type voice, right? I can see that happening. Not accusing anybody of anything, but as somebody who's been in that field and has, you know, programmed before and all that, I can certainly see that one happening. That'd be easy to pull off. Discord threads asking about dowsing rods. No, Shauna doesn't like dowsing rods, and I understand why. Dowsing rods can be easily manipulated. I guess her dad has developed a wooden box that you can't manipulate them in. And I have to see this because I actually haven't seen it yet. I've heard it described many times now, but there's no way you could manipulate it. And if there's something there that could, it'd have to be a spirit. My friend Copperhead Greg Graham uses dowsing rods quite a bit. And if you watch our Bel Air House video, you'll see them in action. And the way he uses them, instead of holding them straight out, he holds them down. And his philosophy on that, because he's just kind of like, they're just kind of resting there on his fingers as they're pointed down, is that for them to cross the way he's holding them, they would have to defy gravity. And so there would have to be something pushing them. So very, very old school technique. Has been in the past very highly manipulated. So a lot of people discredit dowsing rods. There's also a phenomenon that can happen, when you're holding them like that. Small muscle twitch, can actually start to make them seem like they're moving. So yeah, a lot of people discredit the dowsing rods. I know Shauna doesn't like them. I don't know. I'm mixed because I have seen him, like Copperhead. I know he's an honest dude, so I don't discredit him at all. But others, I don't know. But a lot of people don't really use them anymore. So, and there's Shauna's in the chat talking about the wooden box. So Andrew, they used them in the Bel Air House. Yep, we used them in the Bel Air House. So that was an interesting investigation. So. It is over the hour mark, guys. I didn't even know that. Interesting. So I kept going on. Oregon Trail. Oh, because of the computer stuff. Okay. Anything else, guys? Just anything else you want me to answer real quick? I went quite over. So B3 Aerospace, agree with you, Mike. Some techie is okay, but most of it's annoying, I think, to spirits. Well, yeah, and I think it's actually confusing to a lot of the older spirits that don't understand it. I think you can kind of overwhelm some of the older ones with some of the gadgets and technology. They're looking at it like, I don't know. I mean, you got to think about some of these, especially older spirits. They see something like, even like this. Or maybe something like that, or some of these other like bigger gadgets that light up and have all this stuff going on. They were taught that things like that, high technology, and they're not even understanding. They're looking at it like, okay, that's got to be like magic, and magic is from the devil. I mean, you got to think, this ultra religious societies, back in the day, they were like, seeing this stuff work, to them it's magic, and also to what they've been taught through their heavy religious doctrine, magic is from the devil. So they're gonna like take off and get away from you, So you got to be, keep in mind what you're setting. Who are the? That's why I like going in to investigations, knowing the history of the place and who's supposed to be there and how old it is and all of that stuff, because it gives you context. If you're in a place that's 200 years old and you're throwing out all this really high technology, they're going to be like, whoa, Satan's here, and take off. Come on. You believe in grid lights, like laser grid? I have. Is that in here? I have a laser grid around here somewhere. Maybe I didn't put it next to me. I think it's down there. I have a laser grid. It's, I get the concept behind it. I haven't really seen it work myself. I've seen it work on TV, right? it hasn't ever really personally worked for me. I'll throw it out there every once in a while just to see. I have a UV light as well. I also don't have that on the couch here, do I? Oh, I do. Okay. Yeah. I also have a UV light as well, just because some people were starting to theorize that maybe using a regular flashlight will kind of scare them off or what have you. And that UV light would be, well, one, it's a different wavelength. Two, it's not as bright. That sort of thing. So I picked it up just to try it, just to see what we might be able to get. It hasn't really been much of a difference, So, yeah, Andrew Coverage, Mike, that's Oklahoma because of being in the Bible Belt. Well, it's kind of, yeah, well, Oklahoma is kind of still back in the day, right? Well, even out here, 100, 200 years ago, it was ultra religious. So, yeah, Shauna's saying that, she's used grid lights. They're cool. They are very cool. I mean, I like the way it sets up. I like the concept of it, that, you could see, if there's like a shadow breaking the light and all that. Yeah, it hasn't worked for me yet. I haven't seen a shadow cross personally yet, I guess is what I'm saying. So, anything else? It is just about midnight here in the east, and so we've been going for a little over an hour now. Yeah, Candy. She's saying good night. Mike doesn't need sleep. I actually do. I have a long drive tomorrow. But you have a good night, Candy. Yeah, it's she's out in New York, so I know it's late for her too. Same time, midnight. And I do have a lot of stuff to get ready for the trip. I gotta pack all this stuff up. I got a lot of stuff to pack. I got stuff to clean up because the day I get back, my daughter's gonna be here, so I might want to do that. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that, going over ghosts and technology, whipping out some devices for you, talking about some different experiences. Really do appreciate all the questions and feedback and comments in there. Happy you enjoyed it. So let me go ahead. Let's do some shout-outs real quick. Get all this equipment out of the way before I knock it over again, right? So, Tom McNicholas, thank you very much, as usual. Oh, I got to say, Shauna, our chat shenanigator, thank you for being down there. I know you're not feeling well. Please send some energy, some good energy, good vibes out to Shauna. Really do appreciate that. Greg Rankin, thank you very much. Ether Shadow, thank you as always. Jen K, thank you. And guys, all the questions, I really do appreciate that. Candy Orton, thank you. Have a great night. Andrew Cox, Andrew Cubbage was out there as well. Both Andrews. Katie Palmer, thank you very much. Start scrolling up. Zippy Davis, thanks for hanging out. Both shows, very cool. Real Badger, thank you very much. Beat 3 Airspace, thanks for all the comments, feedback, and everything tonight. Ren Oak, thank you as well. Sean Gilmore, hey, hit me up about Swift Mansion over here. So we got some stuff to do together. What else we got? Zippy I did say Zippy Davis already. Jen K. Who else we got? Cheryl Cowell, thank you for joining us tonight. Sherry Ann Carroll, thank you as well. A lot of people were taking off back up here. So Lenora Martinez, thank you. As always, Discord threads, thank you for hanging out both shows. Thank you for your questions. Fran Molino, thank you for your questions tonight as well. Diane Hilbert, thank you for also hanging out both shows. And everybody really do have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I should say that there's not going to be a show next week. We didn't say that on Edge of the Rabbit Hole either. But no shows next week, Edge of the Rabbit Hole or Inside the Upside Down, day after Christmas. A lot of people are going to be doing still, family stuff and all that. I'm going to be on the road with Shauna. So I'm not going to have the whole setup and everything anyway. Plus, she has Frontier. Enough said. So it's just not going to work on the December 26th. So our next show will be, I think that's the 2nd, right? January 2nd will be our next show. So please hang out there. January 2nd, come on back. So anybody else? So Nellie Moen, okay, very cool. Anybody else? I'm sorry, I'm still scrolling back up. Kathy Ciliento, thank you. Jessica Shea as well. Yeah, I'm going to scroll all the way back down and see if anybody else has chimed in. Kelly Dahl, thank you for joining us. And I think that's going to be about it. If I missed anybody, you know, I apologize. It's hard to grab everybody. There's a lot of chat. There's a lot of you in there. I really do appreciate all the feedback, comments, questions, what have you. If you're new to the channel, this was first time you watch the show, or even the second time you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up with Haunted Road Media. A lot of great things that we're going to be doing. Secret things that are going to be coming out here within the next week. Hit the little bell notification. Get all the updates of what we're doing here on YouTube. But also check us out on Facebook and Twitter as well, because we've got a lot of things that we throw up there. HauntedRoadMedia.com, of course, is the website. And MikeRicksecker.com. Got all the books and all that great stuff as well. So, and the, toss it out there real quick. The second edition of Encounters with the Paranormal 2 is out. And, of course, we did just have Encounters with the Paranormal 3 come out as well. Edition 2 of Encounters 2, of course, has the expanded goldenrod coverage because of what happened back in October. So check that out. All right. So everybody, have a great night. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Whatever you're celebrating, if you're celebrating, enjoy. Peace to you all. Have a good night. If I can find the right screen. There we go.